You don't need to wait for a snowstorm or to go outside in the cold to make a lovable snowman. I'll show you how to make this Snow Much Fun decoration in your shop using only a drill and a scroll saw. It's early November, it hasn't snowed yet thankfully, but I've got this little snowman decoration I found on Steve Good's site. I used scroll saw tape to attach the pattern to the wood, and I drilled all the pilot holes and decorative holes, so I'm ready to start cutting. Steve suggested 1/4-inch thick stock for this decoration, but I opted for 1/2-inch poplar. The piece I grabbed is already an off-white color, and poplar takes paint well, so some white spray paint should give me the look I have in mind. I'm using a number 3 Pegas modified geometry blade for this project. I'm starting with the interior cuts, and I usually work from top to bottom and left to right, the way you'd read a book, but the order in which you make the cuts doesn't matter. I use a magnifier with my scroll saw, and I recommend you purchase one if your budget allows. It really helps when you have small details like these eyes to cut. You'll notice that the eye cutouts aren't circles, and cutting them will require a bit of skill. The way I make these is to cut to the point where the sharp change of direction occurs. When I reach the point, I stop cutting and back the blade up very slightly. Then I'm able to use the saw curve just created, plus the waste area, to swivel the workpiece while the blade is still running. As soon as the workpiece is oriented the way I need it, I push the wood into the blade and start cutting again. I use the same procedure to cut the second eye. You'll notice that I drilled the holes for the mouth and buttons down the snowman's front. I believe that was faster than drilling pilot holes and then cutting the rest of the hole on the scroll saw. If you have a 3/16 and a 3/8 drill bit, then you can drill these rather than cut them on the scroll saw. The carrot-shaped nose and the bow tie cuts are easy enough to make that I don't have any tips for cutting them, and I sped up the video on that section so we can concentrate on the challenging part of the project, cutting the letters that spell out Snow Much Fun. I believe that once you develop the expertise needed to cut letters on the scroll saw, you've mastered the most important skills needed for any scroll saw project. My first tip for cutting letters is to cut on the inside of the line rather than right on the line. The reason for this is twofold. First, for letters like the O, there's a middle section that's held to the workpiece by only 1 or 2 small tabs. If you cut right on the line, this area is minimized and may be easily breakable. Cutting on the inside of the line leaves the tabs a tiny bit larger and thus a bit stronger. The second reason for cutting on the inside of the lines concerns letter spacing. In my experience, the letters are very close together in many patterns. Cutting on the inside of the line ensures adequate spacing and prevents letters from running into one another. I'll skip describing how I cut the S because I can better give the useful cutting tips as I cut some of the other letters. The cuts for the N are mostly straight lines and 90-degree corners with a few different angles added in because of the slanted crosspiece of the letter. I believe learning to cut sharp 90-degree corners is a fundamental skill in scroll sawing. I usually drill the pilot hole near the upper left-hand corner of the N. From there it's a short cut, and then you need to make a 90-degree turn. Here's how I do them. Cut right to the point where the horizontal and vertical lines meet, then back the blade up a tiny bit so it's not cutting, but still at the intersection. Next, I slowly turn the workpiece 90 degrees so it's now aligned to the next direction I need to cut. The saw blade curve just created, plus the waste area that the blade can nibble away at, allows me to make this move. As soon as the board is aligned, I add pressure and cut along the next line. These same techniques are repeated until the letter is complete. The letter O is cut in 2 parts because otherwise you'd have a big circular hole in place of a letter. On this pattern, the letters are fairly large and well spaced, but I'll still use my preferred method of cutting on the inside of the lines to keep those 2 tabs as large and strong as possible. I drilled the pilot holes for the 2 sides of the O near the top. From those, it was a short cut to the intersection of the horizontal and vertical lines. The corners are made in much the same way as the 90-degree corners of the letter N. The only difference is that instead of making a turn and then cutting a straight line, you make the turn and then cut a curved line. I'll cut the stand first since it's easy to access near the edge of the board. I aligned the blade with one end of the stand, cut to the curve, and swiveled the board to make that curved corner cut. Then followed the line until the cut was complete and the stand was as well. It doesn't get any easier than that. Since the base was ready, it made sense to cut the bottom of the snowman so I could fit it to the stand. Remember, Steve Good designed this for 1/4-inch material, so since I'm using 1/2-inch poplar, I had to redraw the lines for the base slot at the bottom of the display. I started by making a straight cut across the bottom. Next, I cut the slot for the base using the new marks I drew in the pattern to accommodate the 1/2-inch material. I made a test fit and found the slot was not quite wide enough. But that's all right because it's easy to go back and widen the slot. The second test showed a very good slot width after I removed the pattern, but the slot wasn't quite deep enough, so I returned to the scroll saw one more time and made that repair. The only cutting left was the long cut for the snowman's exterior. There were a few sharp turns, but I've already shown and described how to make them. I timed the video to see how long it took me to make that cut, and it was about 5 minutes. It's mostly a matter of taking your time and letting the blade do the work. I sped up the video here because I didn't think you needed 5 solid minutes of play-by-play commentary. I didn't glue the stand to the snowman, so the display can be taken apart for storage in the off-season. A couple of coats of white spray paint gave me the finish I was looking for. This was an easy project for an experienced scroll sawer and a skill builder for a novice. As always, I appreciate your comments and I reply to each of them. Until next time, suggestions for what to watch next are on the screen now.